One. Hello and welcome to the Women's Cave. It still feels so strange because normally I'm Jade and normally Winona, my partner in crime, will always try to beat me to it. And I got to say it like with pronunciation and enunciation. That was amazing. Maybe I need my own show. Joking. Never, never. You know I'm the boring one. I can't have my own show. So since the boring one has nothing else to talk about, wait, Winona isn't here because she had like family things to take care of. And so we wish her the best with that. All right, so we are pop poets, and we wrote a bunch of books because, we write poetry, right? And we call them literary life guides for pop poetry. So the And I Thought series, I'm only going to give you like the top four because we're like 17, soon to be like 18 and a half because we kind of went back to the second edition of a book because people were like, can you please add more poetry to this book? Which, as poets, we said, so we went back and did that. So here are the top four ones that everyone tells me that they like. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. And those are available on Audible and Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Just a bunch of places, right? And then, and I thought I did my journey alone, which is one of our only all poetry books. Oh, pop poetry books. See, I'm saying it wrong because Winona's not here to interrupt me. And then If Only I Were Me, available only on BarnesandNoble.com, and you can find out everything your ladies are doing, including the boring things that we do in our life, right? And the fun things too, but boring too, at www.andwethought.com. So today we have a wonderful guest that has a little cute, beautiful puppy, so you might hear the dog bark. But I mean, seriously, a puppy! Who doesn't want to hear a puppy? Everyone does. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Stephanie Krikorian. Say more? Okay. Should I tell you some more things?
Yes, say some more things. I love more things.
All right, Stephanie Krikorian. I'm coming to you right now from East Hampton, New York, in a little hamlet called Springs. And I am a writer. I do some journalism, and I ghostwrite other people's books. And I have my own book that came out a year ago, actually, called Zenbender, A Decade-Long Quest to Fix Everything That Was Never Broken. And I used to be a TV producer back in the day. Is it time for my 1 to 3 interesting things, or wait?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to address Zenbender because seriously, it is in her title, her decade-long quest to like fix everything that wasn't broken. We had to have her on the show with that thing alone. I was like, oh, she did other things that's fabulous, but come on, this book title. How did you come up with that book title?
I used to say I was on a Zenbender every time I went to LA for a few months. So I started working from home, maybe 2009. I started writing after finishing a career in television as a producer. And so then I could go anywhere. So I would sublet my apartment in New York City, and I would go rent something in Venice Beach, California. And they have so much stuff there, like Reiki and Thai massages and every clairvoyant and all that kind of stuff. And so, sorry to look away, but I just have to give the puppy his little toy to keep him quiet. And so I would hit it pretty hard. I would be like cramming it all in. And I once referenced it as a Zenbender. And then maybe a couple of years in, I thought, I wonder if that's a whole book. Because as I sort of started to look back, I realized I'd been on this Zenbender for the decade since 2008, 2009, when I, started this new career and was really taking coach. I look back and I had hired the dating coach and gone on every diet known to man and, every clairvoyant. And this puppy is going to drive me crazy here. Come on, little Skippy. And so as I started to assess, I realized, oh my God, I've been doing this for 10 years trying to fix everything. And maybe nothing's needed to be fixing at all. So that was it. And so I put it all together in a book, and that was Zenbender.
Yeah. Seriously, that was an amazing title. And
Thank you.
It's interesting that sometimes we stress ourselves out over trying to not be stressed out.
Yeah, well, it's not very zen to go on that kind of a bender. And really, it's like I sort of discovered along the way that even just going for a walk or, 5 minutes of meditation or just doing yoga is enough. I'm going to pick this little puppy up. Skippy, come here, buddy. You're going to have to come up here. Come here. Come on.
And I told you, he's the cutest puppy.
He won't
Sometimes you just have to.
I'm so sorry. This is, I have to do, Skippy's as tired of Zoom as I am, as we all are, I think.
I think this is 2020, so we should get used to kids and
Yeah.
significant others and puppies and cats and
Agree.
all of that, because literally, y'all, like, when are we ever going to do this again? Probably after this is over?
Probably 2021.
Well, I mean, like, after the COVID pandemic is over, probably never. We'll be like those people that, we look at these old people like, why are you sitting out on the porch? We will just be sitting out on the daggone porch and be like, yes, because there was like 2 years of my life. I couldn't just sit out here with no fear.
Exactly. Well, this is a pup. Wow, he's so usually calmer, but okay, it's the witching hour. I apologize.
It's okay. So, you are...
Sorry, say it again.
You're a ghostwriter. How did you get into being a ghostwriter?
Well, it ties into the Zen Bender because basically I had been laid off in television, as many people were in 2008. And I started ghostwriting other people's books. I did one, and it was a diet book. And then I did another one, and it kind of fed the Zen Bender because it was a lot of self-help books. So every time someone would say, I want to write the Marie Kondo of such and such, or, I would research all of these self-help books by reading them and then living them. And then I'd live the books of the authors that I was writing for. And so basically I'm 20 or so books in, and maybe another 10 or 15 that I've edited. And it's just sort of accidentally became my career. It was nothing I ever set out to do, but I find it so interesting because you meet these really interesting people and you dive into their story, and I'll interview people extensively for maybe 20 hours in a stretch, and then put their story together. And it's really fascinating because you get to ask these people all these questions that you normally wouldn't be sort of so impolite as to ask, to get everything out. And then, by the time you're frustrated and tired of the project, it's over and you're on to something else. So it's kind of perfect.
So how did you get into writing in general? I know you said that you were an executive producer, but when you were back in the day, did you always want to write, or were you like, no, I don't want to write, and then you just like fell into writing?
Well, yeah, I guess I think I cut you off there. There's like a little bit of a clip. I think, my first job after I graduated, I was an English and drama major, and then I worked in the summers, and then after that I graduated for this very small newspaper. I think I knew I wanted to be a journalist, not so much a writer, but a journalist, and in some form. And so I started writing for this small newspaper, and I remember it might have been while I was a student one summer. They sent me, there was nobody working there, they sent me to cover this town hall meeting where they were talking about building a new town hall in this little farming town. And I wrote the story that they wanted to spend $1 million on a clock tower, and the town went crazy and they never built that clock tower. And I was very wowed by the power of journalism. And so then I did a graduate degree at Syracuse University, and I got a job in the news in New York, where I worked for another decade, or actually, no, it was more like 18 years altogether in various television roles. And then I guess I just started doing more specifically reporting and writing. I did a little bit of freelance work for the Wall Street Journal. And then, like I said, I got a book in there, and then I did more articles. And so my latest stuff I've been writing for Vanity Fair, making fun of the rich people in the Hamptons, which is really my favorite sport. And so it just it wasn't like some dream as a child. I kind of knew news was my thing. I guess that's where it all started.
Absolutely. I mean, I can definitely see that. And sometimes I have to ask, right? Because I was not a writer, right? I'm just like, I love to read. Like, I love to read. Winona has always been the writer in my life, right? So best friend, always been the writer in my life. Always read her stuff. I've always been her first beta reader before he even went to the editor. Like, I was the person, like, that joke does not land. Let me help you land this joke. So I'm always that person. And when I asked her to return to poetry, she said, write me something. I said, what? She's like, write me something. I mean, because you can't ask someone to return to writing poetry and then you're like giving them the whole book title and encouraging them the whole time. And then they go, write me something. You go, no. So, of course, you do what your best friend asks. You swallow your pride. You go, oh, this is going to suck. And then you write something. And then 2019, I become the poet of the year. So, yeah, that was never my dream.
Amazing.
It was never my. So it was like, this was never my goal, my dream. But yeah, I fell into it because Winona made me.
That's pretty cool. That's a great story. It's this.
Yeah, as I was saying it, I was like, wait, this is a pretty great story. Why don't I tell that more?
Well, it is because I always, when people say, how do you, how do you start writing? And I have some writer friends who are sort of my writing, community. And our term is always ass in chair. So just sit down and start writing, because you could talk about it all you want, but you got to sit down and write something.
Okay, well, that leads me into my thing about what advice would you give people in transition, because you did do a lot of transition in your life.
Yes.
In transition, and then to get into writing and to basically own it like you have, because you have owned it. You're a ghostwriter. You have a really great, funny book, which is fabulous.
Thank you.
How did you do this? So what is that?
I would say a few things. So if you want to be a writer, be prepared for a lot of rejection as you're pitching things, and you have to be thick-skinned, and you have to kind of get back up every time someone says no, which will happen frequently if you're, freelancing and pitching. Don't quit your day job immediately. I would say write at night or in the morning, whichever is your thing, and then start trying to sell things along the way. I would also say, I wrote an article about this somewhere, treat it like a business, because it is a business. Like, you need to be paid. If you're doing corporate writing, you need to be paid properly for that, and find a balance between the corporate writing that'll pay the bills, and then the fun stuff that you would kind of like starve and be homeless for writing if you tried to make your money doing that. And so try to find a balance in that, and write, I think it's very cliche, but write what you know. You'll realize what works and what doesn't. And I don't think you kind of go outside your lane either. Like, when you catch your stride and you know what you're good at, that's where you focus heavy and keep trying to write. But like we were just saying, ass in chair and write, and throw it in the garbage if it doesn't work, and start again the next day. But keep trying. I think also find a community of writers. I think that's very helpful, where you have someone to bounce some ideas off, like be able to say, can you read this, or is this dumb, or can you take a temperature check? And also, once you do start getting the writing work, those people are very good for calling and saying, okay, how should I price this? I have my little group of people that I will call and say, okay, how many hours do you think this will take me, and how do I price this? And I have a group of ghostwriters, and then I have a group of other writers. And my one very, very successful ghostwriter friend, she says, you have to start building a mountain of cash, because there's going to be like moments where you have no money coming in. And I think for those moments, my advice would be, just know it will eventually come in. But, you got to make money somehow. So also don't get stuck in that, I only will write, XYZ, and I'm not going to do anything else. You got to pay the bills. So you got to figure out that balance of like, what'll get that done. And,
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I'm always talking about how writing, when we say, oh, you have a writing career, like a career indicates money. Because if I was like, oh, you have a nursing career, but you're like, I never got paid a day in my life. Well, do you have a career? Should we be talking to a lawyer? Because if your employer's not paying you, like, what's going on?
Right.
So when we have a career that indicates money and upward move and forward movement, and being able to reinvent yourself. Because let's be honest, you're not want to be in the mailroom forever if you have other careers. So same with writing. You want to be able to do that. And a lot of times when you are an author or a journalist, a freelance journalist, you are a business owner. So take it from people, from a person that grew up in an entrepreneurial household, stack the money while you can. Like, you get the money, do the thing, because sometimes there are great periods, and then there's periods with awfully low, and then you'll go right back to having a great period.
And I think also, you know, people kind of think like writing isn't a job. And so you'll find a lot of people say, well, it'll be great exposure, you know, and I think there's a balance for that. You know, there's a point where, yes, if it's a big publication, well, they should pay, but there's a point for balance where a point for exposure where that's worth gold. And then you do one thing to get the next thing, but only so much. I mean, people, it's not free. And like, you'll find a lot of people will be like, oh, can you just write this up for me real quick? And, you know, you got to remember, this is your job, and nobody, you know, you have to treat it like that. You know, I think, and again, like I said, with the balance, the books, like, really know that, you need something to make the money too. But I also think in this time, you know, as we're going to eventually come out of this pandemic, but I think that whole idea of reinvention is going to take on a new meaning, but I think it's going to be a lot harder this time around. And I kind of laugh at all the people who are like, oh, have you got a lot of writing done during the pandemic? And it's like, no, I'm trying to stay alive here. You know, I can't write and stay alive at the same time. I got to, you know, early on, I got to Clorox my avocados and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I've really accomplished a lot there. And I think that's kind of funny that people kind of think, sure, the whole ship's going down and like the world's on fire, but sure, write the great American novel. So it's hard too. That my point there is, it's very hard if you're in a good frame of mind and you're not working right now and you can take some of the time to try to write something that you might sell. Good for you. I say go for it, but it is tough.
It is. So where can people find out more about you and your book?
So my website is stephaniekrikorian.com, StephanieKrikorian. That's a long one.com. I'm Steffi Crick on Instagram and Twitter. And, you know, I always post stuff there, and links to my writing are there and my work. And, oh, wait, but my 3 interesting things you told me to come up to are on there too. I'll tell you real quick. I'm Canadian, which I wanted to make sure, I don't know if you hear me say out and about. And I always buy raffle tickets and I always win. And what was the other thing? Oh, I ran the New York Marathon once and up the Empire State Building once, and then I've never run again, but I did those things. So I've been thinking about that all day, like that you had said, get your 3 things that are interesting. So those are my fun facts. And that's on my website.
Those are really great fun facts. And now I know who to like give my money to buy my raffle ticket. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. So
I love a good raffle.
I mean, seriously. I mean, if you always win, of course you do. So I guess I'll go ahead and wrap us up. Thank you for coming on the show today. It was really fun. And you can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. While you're there, take a moment, go to the ladies tab, go down to the middle, and see the charities that we proudly support. Keep in mind that now is October, so it is Domestic Violence Month, which is Powerful Beginnings on the first people on our middle of our page, and you can check them out. And yes, we know it's 2020, so money is funny, as the old saying goes. So maybe you could donate some time, or if not that, just add them on social media and say thank you for doing this wonderful work in the world. We truly appreciate it, and we thank you in advance for it. And just remember, wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love from the missing Winona and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening.